When the answer is no, you are not asking anymore. You are demanding. Anytime a man has asked me a question, and I've said no, they continue to ask for what they want. When a male friend, co-worker, stranger steps up and says it to the man for me, they take it at face value as no and walk away. When I do it, I get asked it 20 times after I've even said no. My response then is, I told you an answer. You didn't like the answer. You are not asking after I've answered you. You are demanding and refuse to hear an answer you don't like. You asked. I answered. Move on. At work, men seem to keep hating the word no or silence. They want responses they are looking for. It is exhausting. I told them no. No is a complete sentence. I don't need to explain. I don't need to hear you ask the question 100 times. You were never just asking then. I used to struggle to say no, and I used to get blamed for it. I was told to speak up, told that if I couldn't stand up for myself, then no one else would. Now that I've found that strength and I'm quite happy to tell a man to fuck off, I'm polite until they can't take a hint. I find that I'm too abrasive, or a bitch. No is a full sentence. And then after they asked you 20 times, and you finally start to get irritated, they act all defensive like you're being the unreasonable one for being irate after they rile you up by keep asking the same thing or keep joking about something after you politely ask them to stop. Then it's, why are you so emotional? How I look at it is that I will give a polite no for the first question, and then I will also give a polite no to a second follow-up question if they want to confirm I'm sure. However, if they keep asking a third time or more after I've said no, I'm then liberated from any requirements for politeness and will be as rude as I feel like at that point. I truly thought my husband was so amazing at saying no and standing his ground, but I've come to realize it's actually that people take his no the first time he says it. I'm not bad at saying no, people are bad at hearing a woman's no, so I have to repeat myself and explain myself. I still make him deal with solicitors and salespeople since they actually listen to him. Or I blame him and then they respect it because it is ultimately coming from a man. So wild. My favorite reply is, what part didn't you understand, the N or the O? The gift of fear starts with a quote: when a man say no, it's the end of the discussion, but when a woman says no, it's the start of a negotiation. I never forgot that. Very true. I deal with this every day at my job. Dudes don't like I'm in a position of power and daily let me know. I'm so fucking over it. Agree, and it's my number one test of whether I will associate with someone. If someone cannot respect my no, they will never receive a yes from me about anything. My brother used to play the I asked you nicely but you still said no when he'd ask me to do something for him and I didn't want to. When I told him that consequences for saying no means it's not a request but a demand, and he'd get all pissy that I was disrespectful to him. You have more patience than me. I tell him off after 2 asks. My favorite way to address someone being insistent after I've said no to something is to use a deep, manly voice and boom out the lady said no. Works especially well at getting rid of creeps hitting on me. And it makes me laugh. I've told you no. Any further discussion on this subject is harassment, and I will report it as such. I have a friend who had the definition of the word no printed on a business card. She says it doesn't help, but it makes her feel better. Me, I work in a man's world and have learned how to be a bastard rather than a bitch when it comes to enforcing a no. Mine go-to is, no does not mean try harder. When a man says no, it's the end of a discussion. When a woman says no, it's the beginning of a negotiation. Gavin de Becker. I get this from my family over such mundane things, and it's the most aggravating thing they do. Hey, do you want this thing? No, thanks. You sure? It's pretty, I got it at Goodwill or whatever. No, thanks. Come on, I thought you liked this thing. Fine, I'll take it and promptly give it right back to Goodwill. Why even ask if it's not actually a question? I think it's really horrible when people try to convince others to change their answer to a yes rather than accepting their no. You're right. You don't need to explain, apologize, discuss why your answer is no. Most men don't respect a woman's no. If they accept it from a man, I ask if they needed to hear it again but in a deeper voice. Had to learn this the hard way. I can't count how many times I thought I had to justify my no. The no should have been enough in of itself. Questions, whines, and but whyyyyyyyys after a no can fuck all the way off and keep going. There's that saying, when a man says no, it's a no. When a woman says no, it's a negotiation. And that, right there, encapsulates about half the problems we have in the world since the beginning of humanity. If you want to see who a man really is, tell him no. I hate people like this. No means no, period. And at work, men should never be shitty people to female bosses, with the exception for shitty bosses, and make sure they are not overstepping when they are told no. Just be an actual decent human being and it's not an issue, ever. One of my go-to responses to this sort of behavior is to point out that I've said no multiple times, and then just let them tailspin. My theory is that they feel entitled to an explanation for why the answer is no. Because if we say no to anything, they subconsciously interpret that as rejection. If we reject them, then in their heads they are entitled to compensation. That compensation is in the form of information, e.g., why we said no. The take-home message is that we have to earn the right to say no, and the cost is information. Because information is power and men can't stand feeling less powerful than women. I swear it's because they're still whining at mommy. My no response is not an indication of negotiation. What part of no is confusing you, dear? With quizzical pity face expression. You know what we call a guy who can't take a no for an answer? Rapists. This is what I say. You asked me and I answered you. My answer will not change. I don't owe you an explanation. This conversation is over. That's damn creepy. No means no, period. Asking and asking and asking over and over and over again, like they're trying to hound you or power trip you to break you down from annoyance. ECT, just in the slight chance you may say yes. Like they're a child. Grow up and act your age, but most importantly of all, learn how to freaking respect people. I don't know, that felt so weird to read for me in a way, almost like I'm angry. What the hell? You are 100 right, it's like they're not asking anymore at all. I'm so sorry, that's so childish and creepy. Demanding and or begging. I man tell everyone no all the time. It started BC, I was too eager to please and decided to reset expectations. So even if the answer is yes, I start with no. Our situations are in no way connected, but if I was in yours, I would follow up with, why are you still talking to me? And make them explain that they aren't listening to you. I hate the double standard women are subjected to. I work with a team where I'm the only male and I see it all the time. I'll be on the lookout for this one too in the future and do what I can to help curb it. Asked and answered is a good way to respond to someone asking you the same question you've already answered. Unfortunately, a lot of people struggle to understand that if no is not an acceptable answer to a request, then it's no longer a request, it's a demand. Totally low stakes, but I'm in a basketball league and the league runners wanted us to start early, but one of our players wasn't there yet, so we said no. They threatened to forfeit us if we didn't start. Afterwards they tried to come up and claim they were just asking for us to help them out. We responded that forcing someone to start early by threatening a forfeit is an unprofessional way to run your league and it's a threat, not a request. My go-to is, what did I say? And try to get them to say no themselves. And I have a terrific basilisk glare. I just stare at people and most walk away. Don't engage, don't explain. Break the habit of filling in awkward silences with words. Embrace the awkward silence. I see you've met my mother. Never met a no she didn't think she could out-argue.